At the beginning of the year, I was like, I'm going to spend my holidays in Italy no matter what. And I booked holidays in Sicily. As soon as I landed, I felt overwhelmed. I'm flooded by a sense of homesickness. And Sicily is not even my land. Like, I'm from the north, I'm from Milan. But it brought up so many feelings about my country. Yes, you guessed it right. Today's episode is all about homesickness. So welcome to We Are Here Too, a podcast about mental health and life abroad. My name is Francesca, and you may know by now that I'm the host and creator of this podcast, and that I'm Italian, clearly from my accent, and I live in Scotland. And I never thought that Scotland would be home for me forever, but I never even thought that I would experience homesickness to the level I did over the holidays. I don't know you guys, but one of the things that I miss the most personally, because I'm from Italy and I moved to a northern country in the north of Europe, I really deeply miss good fruit. For those of you who are living on this part of the world, I'm pretty sure that you are experiencing something very, very similar. I don't tend to assume things, but I'm feeling pretty confident today about us sharing this. And when I went to Sicily, I just bought this massive tray of fruit and 1.5 kilos of watermelon, which I can proudly say I managed to finish. I got helped by my partner in this in this quest, and we succeeded. But I'm finding it really ironic because in Italy, when I was living there, or I was living in Cyprus, but mainly when I was living in Italy, I was so I loved watermelon, but I would never overdo it. I love fruit, but I would never eat the amount of fruit I ate during this holiday. Like, I just needed, all those amazing apricots and peaches and the watermelon. You have no idea, guys. And this episode is just about this. It's about homesickness is a feeling. And it's not like one thing. It's a complex of feelings. And it's so difficult then to understand what it's really going on. And I try to find definitions, and they're all a bit sterile. So let me tell you what I found. One of them reads, homesickness is longing, is an intense feeling of missing home after which, let's explore this further together, right? For me, first of all, it's what do we mean by home? Is home geographical space? Is home relationship? So it's what's going on between two people or within a community. And that's maybe home for us. Yeah, it's like a feeling of belonging. Or is home a place within us? And then the other point for me in this definition, that homesickness is an intense feeling of missing home after an absence, I think the quality of that absence is connected to the level of homesickness that we are experiencing. I'm thinking of the time when I was really having a blast living abroad, when I had my Erasmus time in Wales, in Cardiff. There was no way I was experiencing homesickness at any point. I was really deeply enjoying my time there. Then life took over when I moved to Scotland. And although at times I was quite happy to live here and I thoroughly enjoyed my life, there were other times that didn't feel as fulfilling. And those were the times where I experienced homesickness. And so something else come to mind for me. It's about homesickness is cyclical, or homesickness is not something that belongs to a linear timeline. You hear what I'm saying here? Like, I think like that there is much more depth to homesickness than what we are reading or what we are hearing around us. And I have a feeling that everything that I talked about in season one is actually what it's causing homesickness. You know, like culture shock, difficulties or challenges in adjusting to cultural differences, language barrier, which means there are communication barriers, you know, feelings of isolation, sometimes, you know, depending on where you live, the level of familiarity in that place, where nostalgia get amplified unimmeasurably. So basically here we're talking about fundamentally three aspects of this. We are talking about like our barriers to adaptation, our easiness in socializing, and the severity of discrimination. Like we have the three guys, and then, you know, like when they interplay, we have like our level of homesickness. And so I think, and I'm thinking about like when, you know, like these different causes and layers came into place in my life, I was like, oh yeah, I can totally see why I was feeling homesick and during that time abroad compared to other times. Like when I was an Erasmus student again, like I felt incredibly integrated. I was so well integrated in my student life that I didn't experience any different from like my life in Cardiff to my life in Italy. I actually loved my life in Cardiff. I had so much freedom. I felt like I was so much more welcomed, understood, cared for in ways that I didn't feel like it was possible necessarily in Italy. And up to that point. And so I felt incredibly adapted. It was so easy to socialize. At the time, I had no sense whatsoever about discrimination. I was a student from Italy, who apparently is such an exotic country for others living in the north of Europe that I felt like, yeah, of course, we love you. You're Italian, which you know per se brings a lot of other issues. Okay, we're not touching on it on today's episodes. But you get my gist. When I was in Sicily, maybe because I was on holidays and I was fine with everything, you know, I was trying to enjoy my time, I actually got invested in this like layer of sadness and nostalgia that I didn't know was really possible in the way, to the extent that it did. I started having feelings about like, why am I living in Scotland? Why have I taken the decisions I did? Why am I not making life choices that are allowing me to go back to my home country? And oh man, like the time that I was like embarking on my airplane back home, I was actually crying. I was looking at my partner, I was crying. I was like, I just want to be here. Just leave me here with my watermelon and my apricots and grapes and everything that tastes like home. And to be fair, guys, I'm feeling a bit emotional about sharing this with you because it was so powerful. That, you know, level of sadness that invested me, it was so different from any other type of sadness that I experienced. It was like so unique. There is an important lesson here around homesickness and what I experienced, and I would like to share it with you guys. I think I reached this point where I'm just like, okay, like I need to honor that feeling because it's telling me things have changed for me, that maybe my whys are not the same as they used to be. And you remember, like, my episode, I think it was episode 7, where I talked about remember your why. You know, homesickness is almost like a signal that we need to check in with ourselves and think how things are going. And for me, it was a matter of thinking about, like, what is it that I really value at this time in my life? Homesickness happens when the balance between honoring the past and embracing the present is off. In one word, homesickness is a reminder. And usually some of the ways that we cope with homesickness are like we either bottle up our feelings, we withdraw socially, like we don't feel like we want people around, especially people around who do not understand us, or they have no experience of life abroad. Sometimes I find like an incredible amount of comfort being surrounded by people who went through what I went through, more than, being surrounded by locals, you know. Some people feel more irritable and lash out. Of course, that's part of the process of like bottling up. Eventually, whatever it is needs to come out. Some people may be a bit passive aggressive, other may lash out, some other withdraws. Some people would actually drink, like increasing your level of alcohol use or substance use. It's quite it's quite normal, let's say. And I'm using the word normal very broadly here. When we are struggling with, when we're struggling coping really with life. I'm not necessarily saying that that's like the way that everyone opts for. But it's also true that, if you are noticing that you're drinking more and using more substances, one of the things that I would invite you to think of is like, what is going on in my life that I'm struggling to connect to? And same for people who bottle up feelings and are irritable. Those are all like symptomatics of what's going on for us emotionally, which of course has repercussions on us physically and, socially. And this is like naturally bringing us to talk about like coping strategies, right? Like what would be like an alternative to bottling up, withdrawing socially, increasing our substance or alcohol use. And that's just to name a few. Okay, I'm pretty sure there are other ways, but I'm sharing with you what worked for me. And if you have more ways, please share them. Like, it would be nice to actually do a bit of like resource sharing here, as we are all going through life abroad in a way or another. I'm not trying to flatten the experience, but you know what I mean. So one of the ways, like, an invitation here would be to stay connected to your family and friends from your home country. And I'm saying this because although that's like temporary comfort that you're getting there, it's like a way to stay, not to feel alone, to get a bit of like, what does it mean to have something familiar in your life. If you love cooking, just go for it. Just organize like your nationality week, right? Like if that's our ethnicity week. Okay, so for me it would be like, okay, I'm gonna have like just Italian food this week. So I'm gonna make like tons of pasta. I'm gonna make pizza. If I have time, I'm gonna make my own pasta because yes, I have a pasta maker. You know what I mean, right? Like in summer I would buy more aubergines and I'm gonna make like caponata, right? Like, and if you don't know what caponata is, I'm gonna recommend it. Caponata, you spell it Caponata. Just give it a go. It's amazing. It's from Sicily. Another things that you could do if you just remove like the food topic for a second would be actually to get, find hobbies, like whatever is helping you to process those feelings. Hobbies are a great way to get distracted, but also like to get distracted in gentle ways, so you don't feel disconnected. You create that connection, because homesickness sometimes is a symptom of us feeling disconnected with whatever it's going on within us, outside us, with the people in our life. And hobbies allow us to recreate that connection. It may not be with the things that we are longing for, but it's still a way of connecting. And then, explore, get something new. Whatever it is that it's going on for you now, it's not working like it feels like, the feeling that I have, guys, and maybe that's the best way to explain it. Just like, I'm upset with everything. I cannot stand anything about anything, right? Like, and so one way for me of doing it, just like if I go out and add novelty into my life, so I get exploring, okay, I feeling already better, and that's what I've been doing recently. I'm not going far. I'm just staying very local, but very local, and to places that I've never visited before. I've never explored before, because you can visit but don't pay attention. So as I did many times. So yeah, that's one of the ways. And before concluding this episode with some exploratory questions, I just would like to remind you that if you love my podcast, please share it. Like, just share it far and beyond, talk about it and, have conversations, guys. Like, this is like the point of the podcast. For you to start having conversations or continue conversations around mental health and mental health when we live abroad. We are, just as a reminder, I suppose, that we are not alone with it. And connect with me on social media. On Instagram, you can find me at Francesca_counseling. Double L for those living in the US, counseling, or in Italy, counseling in British English is spelled with 2 L. So just saying. Okay, close parentheses about my podcast and asking you guys to share it, like it, subscribe it, whatever. Exploratory questions, which I think I touched on already throughout the episodes, but let's have them all here well compact at the end. So first question would be around like, what is it difficult to let go and what are you holding on to? Okay, that would be a way to explore homesickness. First question. Second one would be, what are you finding difficult to confront in the new country? So what are you coming against to? Okay, then maybe it's getting in the way and it's not really allowing you to feeling comfortable where you are. Third question. How are your why recently? Which I mentioned earlier in the episode, and there is an entire episode in season 1 about this. So go and get it checked, I would suggest. Which brings us nicely into the last question, which is question 4. Where does joy live for you? How is that translating where you live at the moment? Just putting it out there. Let me know what you think. Email me. I love receiving emails from listeners. It really keeps me going. So thank you very much for staying with me today. I hope you enjoyed the episode and I shall see you next week. Bye.